the Biker and the Witch weekly psycho spiritual tarot reading. We are your hosts. I am Dr. Sunshine, the Biker Psychologist.
I'm Foxglove, the witch.
And we have got our glass of wine and we have got our altar set up right here in front of our fireplace in our living room. This is our living room I will show you. Love our home and our living room that we share. There's our altar, and you can see, let's see, it's the table and some artwork. We got nice vaulted ceilings. There's an altar up there. I don't know if you can see or not, but we have our nice comfy spot. We each have a glass of wine, and we are ready to do this week's psycho spiritual reading.
All right, so again, we're just going to ask the universe what the collective needs to know for this week. To start off our starting message, our oracle is going to be the Halloween oracle. So let us start. We've got our sage burning.
Little sages,
Yeah.
burning right there next to that scully guy.
Cleaning the cards. I went to a eclectic dance party last night to do tarot reading, so cleaning all the energy from that off the cards. Let's go. One more shuffle.
I love these cards.
These cards are beautiful.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Graveyard, unnecessary fear is our message. It is what we are going to break down and talk about tonight. Bottom of the deck, dawn, light after the darkness.
Man, just based on those two cards, I could wax poetic.
Right?
I could fucking go off on unnecessary fear and the light that comes after.
Exactly.
Holy cow.
I know. It's like you don't even really need the tarot to go
no.
nuts on that.
Yeah, no.
All right. So to break down our theme from our oracle cards, we are going to use the Baroque tarot.
These are really nice cards.
Yeah, they're beautiful. So we are going to shuffle them up and see how the story plays out.
Let's see if I can let you guys see this right here. I don't know if you'll be able to see or not, but our dog, Aleister Crowley, is lying on my foot under the table, chilling out for our psycho-spiritual tarot reading. He's one of our two pups. We have a little puggle named Bella as well. She is sweet as can be. Aleister Crowley is hell on wheels. But sometimes, like right now, he's super sweet, just laying on my foot.
Wore out from being hell on wheels all day.
Maybe.
All right.
Wakes up in the morning, he's like, what shit can I get into today?
Exactly. What did I not accomplish yesterday? All right.
Oh, got a jumper.
And for some reason, the Queen of Pentacles wants to come out. All right. I can show that.
Just popped out while she was shuffling.
So I had to, off this one card popping out, Pentacles is all about your material goods, your job, your career, your finances. Queens are all about like the embodiment, like they are, she is the nurturing, you know, right. It's the embodiment of those things.
Well, it's the feminine spirit, right? Because there's a King of Pentacles as well.
And he's all about, kings are all about mastering. So she is a very nurturing woman. She's a mother figure. So I can either say right now, maybe this message, there's some people out there that might have some unnecessary fear or something going on with a mother figure. Or there's some people out there that's maybe worrying about finances
I'm not
and
even,
how.
yeah, I'm not even going to try yet. I'm
Yeah.
going to see what else comes out and
Right.
then see how it ties together.
So I am going to go ahead and put this back in the deck.
Okay.
So because it popped out at the end, I'm going to shuffle a couple more times, but we'll just keep her in mind that she came out. That might tie into everything later on. All right, here we go. All right, first card, Judgment. I can already tell you. What popped into my head. It's not necessarily what that card means, but next card, the Sun, the happiest card in the deck. You don't get no better than the Sun. And that's two major Arcana cards in a row. That's two major life themes. Page of Swords. Ace of Wands. Four of Cups. Bottom of the deck, Ace of Pentacles. We got two aces now.
And two pentacles.
Yeah, two aces, two pentacles so far. All right, so unnecessary fear. First off, the Judgment card, major Arcana card. So these are major lessons in life, major trials and errors that we go through, that we learn from, we should learn from, as we go through our lives. Minor Arcana are minor events, day-to-day things that we go through. So Judgment is all about, I mean, basically what it says, judgment, being judged. What have you done in life? Some people are afraid that they'll be judged at the end, you know, of what they've done in life. But it really is judging and
stop
what you deserve. What have you done? Like, and it's also what I always get from the Judgment card. My thing, it's not what it's meaning, is a spiritual awakening. That's to me, like the horn blowing. Well, the horn's blowing, and these people, there's light, and they're like reaching their arms up, and for some reason, it just, and they're like literally waking up out of their coffins, which some people think of like that's the what's that word? I don't know, when Jesus comes and calls everybody to heaven.
Like the rapture.
Yeah, the rapture, that word. That's what it signifies. And I mean, in the old tarot art and everything like that, that's a big possibility. That
so
now
that
is a point.
Judgment?
Because with the rapture is when you get called and you are judged by what you did in life, and if you are allowed to enter into the gates of heaven. So just like that, in the real world, we worry about being judged. Everything we do, what we say, what we wear, the jobs that we hold, the car that we drive, the house that we live in.
Right.
A lot of people are wrapped up in this being judged.
Yeah.
So this is what I'm going with. This fear, this unnecessary fear and everything like that. There's something here, and it could be with a mother figure, the fear of judgment. The fear of being judged, the fear of not being accepted, not being good enough.
Right. And I'm wondering about, you know, how often the unnecessary fear of being judged. Because, by the way, like the reason it's an unnecessary fear is not that it isn't real. It is real, right? And the fear isn't so much of being judged. That's not really the fear, right? In situations where we might be confident that we can achieve things we know we're good at, we are not afraid of being judged, right? We kind of look forward to being judged, right? If you're a great gymnast, right, you look forward to competing and being judged because you do well. Not that there won't be nerves, but it's not the judgment that's in the way. Mostly what we fear is being rejected,
Mm.
right? Being judged and rejected.
And that
And
could be what this is.
and
Yeah.
that I would say is an unnecessary fear because um, let's start with the fact that fear is a feeling. And as a psychologist, I would say feelings matter. They're important. However, you shouldn't let them drive the car, right? They make wonderful servants, but terrible masters. So when you feel fear, it's alarming, it's alerting you to a potential danger. And it could be a physical danger, it could be an emotional danger, an interpersonal danger. Um, but if people are rejecting you, if you're being authentic, they're, if you're being inauthentic and you're being rejected, maybe the trick is to become more authentic, more real, more whole. But if you're being authentic and you're being rejected, then you just haven't found your people yet, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the fear of it is silly because why would you want to be accepted by folks who aren't your people? But that unnecessary fear, when we go back to the Queen of Pentacles
Which,
and the Ace of Pentacles,
by the way,
yeah,
the Ace of Pentacles was on the bottom.
yeah,
Look
Queen
who
was
was
right
under.
behind it. Oh
Queen
my
was right
goodness.
underneath her. Yep.
So when you start talking about how frequently people don't go after their dreams and don't chase down the things they want because they're afraid of how their parents may judge them or how their teachers may judge them or how
Mm.
I mean, this is a silly example, but we went on a road trip today. We're in beautiful Colorado, and we went out to Cripple Creek to see the foliage change. And we were listening to the Billy Joel station on Sirius XM, and like we normally are kind of heavy metal or hip
Mm-hmm.
hop people, but I have a real sweet spot for Billy Joel. I just love him as a musician and a human being. And so we were listening to the Billy Joel station, and he was talking about how from a very young age he knew he was on a different path. He was going to be a musician no matter what. And he wrote this one song about friends of his that he watched as they went through high school give up their dreams in order to do something more safe, in order to become accountants or
To
marketing
please their
people or
parents and to please
yeah,
society.
right.
Mm-hmm.
And how it killed their spirit. It really
Mm-hmm.
killed who they were. And so that's, I mean, I know we're only one card in on the spread, but that's what I'm thinking right now as it ties into these pentacles and unnecessary fear from the graveyard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I think you're onto something. I think that's it too. Um, and like I showed him, underneath the pentacle in the bottom of the deck, there's that queen again that popped out at the very beginning and I
Yeah.
stuck back in and reshuffled. So there's definitely something
Yeah.
with
She's
this queen.
trying to,
She is definitely wanting to be noticed. All right, so after judgment, we have the sun. Now, the sun is the happiest card in the deck. The sun is everything. It is a fulfilled life. It's accomplishment. I mean, it's just everything. I mean, this is a little sun baby riding a horse. Like, it's just great. So as it ties into this, I am thinking that this unnecessary fear is this belief that you have to do what you need to do to avoid this being judged. And I have a feeling it might be through a mother figure. Now, a mother figure is not necessarily a mother. It could be somebody that you've looked at as a mother. It could be a best friend's mother, and none of these cards really have a true gender to them. So if there is a man in your life that has nurtured you and helped you grow, and you look at them like and you feel that nurturing like a mother's nurturing, that's it. It doesn't have to be a female gendered person. So I'm looking at it as this unnecessary fear of being judged that is preventing you from your happiness. Like continuing that being held back or allowing yourself to be held back, or that
right.
unnecessary fear of being judged and conforming to what you think that will make them happy.
Well, the other piece though is if it's a true nurturer in your life, somebody who's really nurtured you and loved you and taking care of you, and they may have ideas in their head of what they want for you in terms of your life. Like they may want you to I don't know, go to college and get a master's degree and get some sort of job in business or in law or medicine or something. And if that's not what you want, you may be afraid to tell them that that's not what you want because of how they might judge you.
Mm.
But if it's a true nurturer, if it's really somebody who's played a nurturing parental type of role, whether that's a maternal or paternal kind of role, then that fear would also be unnecessary because they would accept, if they're true nurturers, they would accept where your heart is and what you want to do and how you want to be.
Mm.
Somebody who's really there to nurture you is not going to crush your dreams. I'm not going to say they won't be disappointed in your decision, or they may not. Um, if you say that you want to quit school and become a famous musician, they may not have a lot of faith in that plan. They may not, feel like that there goes Aleister Crowley.
Oh my gosh.
They may not feel like that plan, they may not believe that that plan will work out for you. However, if they are true nurturers, they may talk to you a little bit about having a fallback plan or a plan B, but they will say eventually they will accept who you are and what your heart says, and they will say, let's do it. Let's pursue music, and they will help you and they will be full force. So the fear that you might feel is unnecessary, right? And that word unnecessary on this card is key to me because some fear is necessary, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're out camping in the wilderness and, a bear and her cubs come up to your tent, that's necessary fear, right? That's like real fear. But if you're afraid of somebody who loves you and nurtures you judging you for what your heart desires, and that's holding you back from pursuing what your heart desires, then I would suggest that maybe that fear is unnecessary
Mm.
because that person is, if they're a real nurturer, going to want you to pursue what lights you up.
And like you were saying, these could all be unnecessary fears because these are things that you might be assuming because you haven't had a conversation with this person,
Right.
because you have these unnecessary fears of the way they're going to react to what you truly want to do, and this what you want to pursue, this true happiness that you want to go after. And I do want to make notes. I know there's so much more that goes into the true meaning of the judgment card. When I stumble over and it seems like I can't get the traditional meanings out of the cards, and the only thing that's coming to my mind is my intuitive meaning, I don't even try to figure it out anymore. It's obvious to me that it's the intuitive that I'm supposed to be, message I'm supposed to be taking. So I know there's other stuff with the judgment, but that's just not what it was. Okay, so judgment, the sun, and then we have the page of swords. All right, pages are students, they're young people. Um, this page could be you if you are a younger person, and this is a mother figure over here. It could be what you need to do, like learning, studying. Swords are about your thoughts, your ways of thinking. So maybe this is you need to learn a new way of thinking, like this whole unnecessary fear over being judged, over this desire, this happiness, this what you want to go after. You need to learn to think a different way.
Right.
Like
And that kind of fits down the path I was going,
right.
Because I was saying that if you're limiting yourself or you're pursuing a path that you don't want to pursue in order to please somebody who's a nurturer because you're afraid of how they might judge you, that fear, like I said, is unnecessary. Um, but the interesting thing is, in those situations, a lot of times we sort of blame the other person. We say, well, I'm not pursuing my dreams because this person would be disappointed or unhappy if I did. When really it's not them who's keeping you bound. It's your thoughts and beliefs about them. You haven't, in this case, in this situation, you haven't given them the opportunity to either judge you or support you.
Right.
And
Because you're
so,
not having a conversation with them.
right. And what's stopping you from having the conversation? Unnecessary fear, right? Because even if you sit down with them and you say, mom, dad, or aunt, uncle, or whomever, and you say, listen, I know you want me to do X, Y, or Z. I know you want me to go to school and study business, or I know you want me to go into law or medicine, or those are traditional kinds of things. But whatever it is, or maybe you want me to take over the family business, but I really want to pursue whatever, acting, music, um, I don't know, teaching, right? It doesn't have to be the arts. Maybe I want to pursue teaching, or I want to go into psychology or something other than you had in mind for me. Even if they don't hop on board right away, even if at first they're like, well, I don't know, we really thought you would be great at taking over the family business. And um, that's still a productive conversation. And it still steps closer to where you want to be in that relationship.
Right.
Right? Not everything goes perfectly the first try, or the first conversation doesn't always go really smoothly. If you think they do, you should be in our house once in a while. Listen to some of our conversations. They don't always go smoothly at first. They usually wind up okay, but they don't start out smooth. And so that's the deal, right? Is like this unnecessary fear is keeping you from having the conversation, but not because of them, right? Because, like I said, if they're a real nurturer, even if they disagree with you, they will disagree with you civilly and in a way where they still hear you and respect you, right? But it's your mindset, your beliefs, the story, the narrative that you have in your head about how they'll reject you, or be angry at you, or whatever, is what's preventing you from having this conversation. And by the way, even if they disagree, if you're an adult, you can still travel the path that you want to travel. That's ultimately your choice.
To decide whether to continue down and do what everybody else wants you
Right.
to do, or to be who you be
Right.
true to yourself.
Yeah. But the key is it's not them who's keeping you trapped, right? It's you. It's the narrative in your mind.
So this really makes me think of myself a lot and my story. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of where I grew up, and just the societal, the messages of what you're supposed to do, especially as a woman,
Right.
and to get
Yep.
married and to have babies.
Right.
And
you're
very
always, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, it's just a very, very, very religious
Right.
area.
But here's the problem, right? Like,
Mhm.
now, granted, I came from a much more populated area than you did.
Mhm.
So when we watch television or listen to music, we see actors and musicians from where I grew up more than we see.
Oh yeah.
But you point out people from where you grew up, and you're like, oh, and they're not sticking to the mold. They're not following it, right? So
Right.
the fact that that narrative exists down there, the fact that people live that way, isn't what kept you bound.
No, I know.
No.
You haven't let me finish my
Oh,
story yet.
sorry.
Yeah, you're pulling me last weekend. You gotta let me finish.
Okay.
So anyway, the whole fear of being who I always knew. I mean, I knew from the age I was 5 that I knew I was a witch, and that I was going to grow up and I was going to be a witch. And I loved making potions and playing in the dirt. I loved the smell of dirt, the feel of dirt. Um, I mean, I was constantly in the woods. I was rolling around in leaves. I mean, sitting up against trees, drawing. Like, it was my place. Like, there was no doubt that's who I was.
She didn't grow up in Manhattan.
No, she did not. But as I got older, it was this whole like feeling the need to fit in, feeling to fit in, like everybody around school. I wanted to dress like them. I wanted to look like them. I wanted to think like them. I wanted my family to accept me. I kind of broke away from it. And then as soon as I had my first child, it was right back to that. What do I need to do to be the perfect wife? What do I need to do to be the perfect mother? What do I need to do, like, to go to church and be like this perfect Christian? And I stuck with that until I got into my 40s and decided that, you know what? Like, I don't want to live the rest of my life being somebody I'm not. And I brought tarot cards to my mom's house and everything, and I was scared to death. I knew that they were going to think that I was like a complete and total evil heathen, which they probably still do. But my mom, she may tell me that, she's not crazy about being covered in tattoos and having my face all pierced up. And she may not be crazy about tarot cards and calling myself a witch. But regardless, I'm her daughter and she loves me. And she will love me no matter what I do. And my father the same way. So a lot of my life I spent being afraid of being judged and rejected. and
And
it was
right,
unnecessary.
that's a true, well, and even if they did not respond, I'm glad they responded that way.
Yeah,
But even if
but
they didn't, the, at the end of the day, right, there's a period of time, there's a period of, you know, 16, 17, 18 years where you are really under their governing, right, under
right,
their rule. But then there's like 3.5 decades after that where you're looking at people. I mean, some of them you love, some of them are your family, but by and large, there's a lot of people where you come from that you don't particularly like. And even the people that you love, you don't really like the way they live.
right.
And yet you're limiting your joy and your passion or whatever to be accepted by people who you don't like how they live.
Right.
Right. And it's crazy. It
And
doesn't,
it is. And
right? It doesn't make sense.
when you stop and you let yourself really look at it, you'll realize like this is absolutely batshit crazy.
Yeah.
When you are blind to it and going through it, you can't see it. You really have to
Yeah.
sit and pull apart why you're doing the things you're doing. Why am I making these decisions? Why is this what I'm deciding to do when everything inside of me is screaming for me to go down this
Yeah.
other path? Like you need to figure out your reasoning. And if it's not because of you, if it's for other outside sources, you really need to do some thinking.
And what I would suggest, right, the like psychologist part in me, what I suggest is that fear, right? The card is unnecessary fear. What I would suggest is start out by assuming that all fear you feel is unnecessary. Assume it's all bullshit. And then make the fear prove its validity to you, right? So what I mean is if you feel fear and you're like, oh my God, I don't want to be real. I don't want to be authentic. I don't want to say what I want or
Mm,
pursue what I want because I'm afraid of how people are, or usually we don't say that, right? Most of us don't say, well, I'm afraid of how they'll react. Most of us jump right to our assumptions. Oh, they'll kill me if I do
right.
that, or they'll disown me, or they'll,
They'll never speak
they'll
to me
never
again.
speak to me again, right? And so the first thing we have to do is identify that as fear. We don't really know that that's true. In some cases, you might, right? When I was graduated high school, I didn't want to go to college right away. I didn't know if I wanted to go at all, but I certainly didn't want to go right away. And my dad told me that if I didn't go to college, he would disown me. And I was afraid that he would. But that fear, like to this day, I mean, I'm 50 years old now, and there is zero doubt in my mind that he would have 100% disowned me. No, it was not a threat. Like that was real. And so that fear was legitimate in that sense, right? I still don't know if I should have adhered to it. I did. I don't know if that was the right choice, but the threat was legit, right? Um, in Foxglove's case, it was a little different, right? Her folks ended up wanting to nurture her no matter how sort of far off the path, their path she went, right? She went onto her own path. But what I would say is each time you feel that, like, oh, I can't do that because, or I can't be who I want because, or I can't come out of the closet, I can't
Mm,
admit who I am, I can't participate in things that make me happy because so and so will kill me or disown me or what I would say is start out by assuming that that fear is unnecessary and that it's not real, and let the fear sort of fight for its own validity, right? Because if you keep coming back to, like, well, I've done some stuff and my parents have always stood behind me, or this cousin has always had my back, or whatever, then maybe that fear really is unnecessary. My guess is that in most circumstances, there'll be a few where you'll come around and be like, oh, yeah, no, there's no doubt that that person would
mm,
cut me out or disown me, right? Of course, then the next question is, do I care? Can I live without them?
mm. Which
If
is more important. Yeah.
Yeah, if I can't live without them, then it's a tougher situation, and then the fear is real, right? But if in every case it comes down to, like, yeah, I don't really know if they would do that. I don't really know if they, then the fear is unnecessary.
Mm, yeah. So that's where you need to learn to think different,
Yeah,
learn to think and look at the situation
right.
differently.
Right. And I'll say the opposite, by the way. The opposite thinking is not necessarily the answer. A lot of times, the opposite is very similar to where we started. So if you start with, oh, they'll disown me and they won't love me and they'll have nothing to do with me or they'll kill me or they'll, um, and you jump right to, no, they'll be fine. They'll totally support me. They'll totally. That's probably, as dangerous a thought pattern as the first one.
Right.
The new thought pattern is probably something, the real truth is probably somewhere in the middle. It's probably something like, well, they'll probably have some hard time accepting this, and they may reject it at first. I might have to have some patience and persistence, right?
And give them time.
Give them time. But if these are people I love and I have faith in them, then I I am willing to believe that with time and with persistence and with conversation, they will come around.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the next card is our Ace of Wands. Aces are new beginnings. Wands are all about your passions, your desires, things that really light you on fire. I mean, it could be in a romantic way, it could be in like something you're very passionate about. Like I'm very passionate about tarot and witchcraft, and he is very passionate about a lot of things, but music is one of his like, and his motorcycle, two of his huge, big things he is passionate about. So this is telling me like, and you got this hand coming out of nowhere and it's grasping that staff, that wand. It's like you need to have a new beginning in all of this and reach out and grab your passions. Reach out and grab it. It's right there. Learn to think different, reach out, grab what you're passionate about, go after it. All right. And the Four of Cups. Cups are about your emotions and everything. This one, the meaning of it is this guy is sitting by the tree and he's got these three cups in front of him and he is so over them. He is so bored. Like, I have nothing to do with these three cups anymore. I am bored of them. And he's so focused on being unhappy and dissatisfied with what's right in front of him that he's not seeing this cup that the universe is reaching him. Like, he's so focused on what he doesn't. And with all this stuff up to here, to me, is saying you're so focused on this. You're so focused on this situation and these emotions, yes, that you're not seeing clearly that this is right in your grasp. It's right there. You have to get over this unnecessary fear. You have to stop dwelling on these emotions, these fears that you have that is preventing you from grabbing your passion and going after it and seeing, because it's right there. And this is something the universe wants for you. It's holding it right out there for you. You just can't see it because of your unnecessary fear. So, bottom of the deck, Ace of Pentacles. Ace of Pentacles is a brand new beginning. Again, we've got this phantom universal hand out there with this, pentacle. Um, you know, like starting off, and since it was with this mother figure, this nurturing person, I'm going with it'll be a new beginning with this nurturing person. Like, you think it's an ending, you think that it's devastating, like this person is just going to have gone, but you sit down and you speak with them and you're really open and honest and vulnerable and have this discussion, give them patience to really accept it and wrap their brain around it. And this could be a brand new relationship you have with this person, that it could take your relationship with them to a different level. It's not this, they're going to abandon me and not love me anymore fear. And that you think that that is the end, the absolute end of it, if you decide to do what you want to do. But bottom of the deck, dawn, the light after the darkness, which goes along with what? New beginnings. So, like, these are really unnecessary fears that's keeping you from traveling the path you want to travel, because the fear is in your head. It's not a reality.
And what it's making me think of, right? This light after the darkness is making me think that, in order for things to be great, So here's a great example. This card makes me think a little bit of post-traumatic growth. So very often, people who experience a trauma or an adversity in their lives go through a period of PTSD, right? PTSD is a set time period, usually a couple of months, at least, sometimes more, of having a constellation of symptoms, right? Nightmares, flashbacks, feeling disconnected from people you love, not finding joy in anything, trying to avoid triggers, limiting your ability. It really does mess up people's lives. But as people recover from PTSD, as they get treatment and they start to recover, many people thrust forward into post traumatic growth, which is a style of living where they are doing so much better than they were even before the trauma, right? They're not back to baseline. They're doing way better. So if you think about, the cancer survivor who like knits blankets for people who are having chemotherapy and goes out and runs marathons and, has all these great relationships, starts traveling, right? That's post traumatic growth. Somebody who survived the sexual assault and opens up a shelter um, for abused women, right? That's a sign. That's like a post-traumatic growth kind of thing, and also starts, participating in fundraisers and creates a foundation and all these sorts of things. And people living this way tend to really cherish their relationships and nurture and build good relationships. Now, everything doesn't always go the way they want, right? First of all, even though they've recovered from PTSD, every once in a while they still have a nightmare or a flashback or a bad day or a bad night. Sometimes there's people who don't support their mission or what they're working toward, right? Sometimes there's people who disagree with it. Um, and there will always be haters, right? Always going to be haters. I tell my kids are young, but I tell them it doesn't matter where you go. Every school you're in, every team you play on, every place you work, there will always be assholes. Always. How happy you are depends on how much you let the assholes impact you, right? And so my thing here is not that if you have this unnecessary fear and then you choose to be more authentic and more honest and you talk to the people in your life and you pursue your passions, that everything's just going to fall into place and magically be perfect and every person in your life is going to support you and accept you and every opportunity is going to open. It's probably not going to look like that. But even with the difficulties, if you live more authentic, right? Whether it's post traumatic growth after a trauma, or whether it's even like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? What's at the top of the hierarchy? Self actualization. And in recent years, there have been some things added that are above that too, usually giving back to a community kind of thing. But self actualization's at the top. And so the idea isn't that everything external to you, the people in your life, the circumstances are all going to fall into place the way you want. It's more that if you live authentically, you are going to be much happier and much more in the light. Even if some people don't accept it, even if it damages some relationships, even if some opportunities don't open up the way you had hoped, or some things have to end in order for there to be a new beginning, you will feel so much more true to yourself and happier than if you're allowing the fear to stop you from being who you want to be, from pursuing what you want to pursue.
Right.
And so I think that's what's jumping out for me is I don't want to make the mistake of being like, oh yeah, if you just go for it, everything will fall into place. It doesn't always happen that way, but you will be happier.
Right. So if you notice with this, I mean, it's dawn and it's like a dawn of a new day, like a new beginning.
Yeah. And owls
But
are a symbol of wisdom, right?
you notice like the illumination
Yeah.
around the owl, which is wisdom. Underneath that is a skull of light, illumination. Look at the light around the skull.
Yeah, it's like a halo.
Right, right. It's like doing all this and doing the work and then realizing like, boom, what was I so scared about? Why was I so afraid? Why, I could have done this earlier. Why was I working so hard to please everyone else but me?
And I'll say one of the, I'm sorry, I mean to
No,
interrupt.
go ahead.
One of the things that I learned from being a therapist for so long is that why questions
Mm,
often don't get us very far.
mm,
So things like, well, why is it so important to you what other people think? Well, of course it's important to you because we're social creatures, right? It's important to us too. We don't
mm,
like it when people reject, even people we don't necessarily have close relationships to. It bothers us if they
right.
reject us or
Mm,
criticize us. So we understand why it's upsetting or why you're allowing people to influence you this way, right? Maybe a more important question, and I don't mean to like be critical, I'm just
no.
maybe a more useful question is okay, so this fear, necessary or unnecessary? I like to think it's usually unnecessary, but this fear is there, right? You're afraid that if you be your true self, that there will be consequences, whatever those may be. The question isn't why. Why do you feel that way? In my opinion, the question is, what are we going to do about it?
Mm,
Right? Um, One of the best things I learned in my life, because I grew up afraid of everything. I grew up in a house where I was taught to be afraid, and I was afraid of everything. And I was an awkward kid in school, and I never had a social life, and I never had friends because I was always afraid of what people would think, how they would judge me, how they would
mm,
react to me. And of course, that showed through, and it made me socially awkward. And as a result, I knew a lot of people, but I was never invited to parties. I never had sleepovers, nothing like that. What I learned that started to resolve that for me is when I went to college. I learned somehow, I don't even remember where I learned it, but I learned that sometimes whatever it is you're wanting to do, you just have to do it scared,
mm,
right? The fear's there. I'm afraid. I'm afraid that if I ask this girl out, she may reject me.
yeah.
Well, if I'm going to move anywhere in my life, if I'm going to get anywhere in my life, I'm going to have to just do it, even though I'm scared,
Yeah.
right? If I want to apply for this job and I'm afraid that they'll reject me, well, I'm going to have to try anyway. If I want to be, you know, some famous actor in Hollywood or some big musician or an athlete, right? And I'm scared because the odds are slim. If I'm going to be fulfilled, I'm going to have to try it anyway. And
Mm,
most people will be more fulfilled and more satisfied with their lives if they try and fail than if they let the fear drive the car and they don't try at all.
right. And it's that story of regret.
Yeah.
What would have happened if I would have just believed in myself? What would have happened if I would just went ahead and did
Yeah.
it anyway?
When they talk to people on their deathbeds and they ask them about their regrets, it's never the things they did. Even if the things they did went terrible, the
Right.
biggest regrets are always the things they didn't do or didn't say, the things where they let fear
Yeah.
drive their decisions.
Right. Yeah. All right. So just feel the need. I'm going to shuffle through and see what pops out as a final message from tarot.
Okay.
And then we will pull a final message from Wisdom
Oracle.
of the Oracle. And these cards I'm using now are Modern Witch Tarot. All right. Final message. There is a final message.
Mm-hmm. Universe, like I told you.
I know, like, I don't know why I have to keep telling you the same thing over and over. Okay, one more shuffle. Okay, that's it. There's nothing popping out for that. So we are going to pull a final, tie it all together message from Wisdom of the Oracle. Okay.
That's Bella, our puggle.
Who guards the front yard.
Right. She's afraid of everything. Scared to death of her own shadow.
Yep.
But she sits in the window and talks real tough.
Yep.
Bella, knock it off.
All right, here we go. Final message. Never ending story. I can tell you right now what I get from it.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Like if this advice that's given, like of course you have your own free will. You know, you can keep doing what you've been doing and making decisions based on other people. You know, or you can choose a different path that could lead to what you truly desire. If you don't choose to try and take the path and work on things, this is a never-ending story. It's just gonna keep. It's the hamster in the hamster wheel, you know. It's the never-ending story, and you're gonna sit there. Look at that. She is so like, ugh. It's regret. It's regret. It's time lost. There's her heart. You know, in this hourglass. You know, it's like it's trapped, and time is passing, and she's just sitting there like, why? You know, like she's not happy. I mean, she can't even look at herself in the mirror, you know, because she's just not happy with the choices that she made. And it's a never ending story. So it's, you need to have this new way of thinking. You need to go out there and grasp your passion and to stop being so focused on this unnecessary fear and what you're so afraid other people are going to do and think that you don't truly know if they're going to do or think that anyway. And you need to focus on what's there, right there for you to reach out and grasp. So you can have this new beginning, this new dawn, and you won't be stuck in this never-ending story. Bottom of the deck. Why? So again, you know, I guess, you know, word it different, but why? Why? Why are we stuck here? Why, when there's so many other choices, we can do something different. We can be somebody different. We can go after what we truly want and end this never-ending story. Why don't we? Why? What's your why?
Well, I get something different from that card.
Okay, you go.
The never-ending story, I think, there's nothing for me to add on that. I mean, it just, I guess what jumps out at me with the never-ending story is, yes, within our lives, we can keep allowing fear of how people might react or fear of doing something different, right? Fear of the unknown to perpetuate the narratives in our head, and the narratives in our head perpetuate the fear, and the fear keeps us trapped. But I also see a never-ending story sort of from generation to generation, right? You're born into an environment, and I don't think it's done maliciously. I don't think most people, maybe some do, but I don't think most people are born are raised this way with malicious intent. But wherever you're born, whatever religion you're born into, whatever ideas about masculinity and femininity, whatever language you speak, whatever worldview your geographical area has,
Political views.
Political views, those things are considered truth, right? And they're taught to you as a child. We don't have the capacity developmentally. We're not able to evaluate and decide, right? If trusted adults tell us that something's true, we believe that it's true. And so if they teach us, you know, I grew up Jewish, and if you're taught that the Jewish faith and Jewish beliefs are truth, then you grow up believing that those are truth, and everything else, Christianity or
Muslim.
Islam, or even things like Wicca and Odinism or paganism of some sort, those things are other than, right? I grew up speaking English. English was normal. Other languages were other, right? They were weird. I grew up with in the 80s, growing up with ideas about what it meant to be a man and what masculinity was, and any man who didn't adhere to those was other, right? It was
Mm-hmm.
different. And so I don't think we do it intentionally. I think we like to raise our children just as part of our clan, right? Part of our family. But then they grow up thinking all of that is truth. And if that truth doesn't fit for them
Mm-hmm.
as they get older, right? If, I don't know, if they're, um, their gender identity doesn't fit with
Mm-hmm.
your cultural ideas of masculinity and femininity, if they struggle to believe the religion you raised them with, and they have different religious faiths, or if they want to travel and experience other cultures and speak different languages, and um, we maybe don't intend it, but it gets policed by disapproval, right? We are disappointed in them, and that polices it into staying. And then they raise their kids this way, and then their kids raise their kids this way. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's what I see as the
Like
never-ending story.
generational.
Yeah, it reminds me. It's silly, but it reminds me of back in the '90s. There was a movie called Bulworth. Was it Bulworth? Was that the name of it?
I don't know, but that
With
title sounds
Warren
really.
Beatty, and he was a politician,
Yes.
and he kind of lost his mind.
Yeah.
And like they asked him about race relations and his ideas on like racial tensions, and he said, I say we all just keep fucking till we're all one race. Right. And it's like that's, it's going to take sort of a mentality like that of raising children to be like, yes, everything is okay.
Yeah.
There's different truths everywhere. No one has the market. There's no truth with a capital T. I believe that this is truth, right? I believe that, you know Christian doctrine is truth, or I believe that paganism is truth, or I believe, and but I want to encourage you, right? I want to, as my child, I want to teach you how to think, not what to think,
Mm-hmm.
right? And until that happens, we're stuck with a never-ending story. That's what came up for me.
And that ties into what came up last week with the generational curses,
Yeah,
and doing things different and
yeah,
breaking that
yeah,
how things are done.
yeah.
Yep.
And when you talked about the why card,
Mm-hmm.
you talked about it almost with like a sense of exasperation, like why? Why am I doing this? Why am I
Right. Right.
right? And I kind of got the feeling of the Simon Sinek, right? The author, like start with why, like what's your why? Because like what Simon Sinek says, and what's a big thing in business is if you understand your why, if you understand your motivation for getting into this thing in the first place, right? Foxglove and I started this psycho spiritual tarot reading. And we started it because we both really love. She would deal cards at home every day, and she would just read her cards, and she would share the readings with me, and we would discuss them, and we connected over those discussions. We had different perspectives,
Mm-hmm.
but we really grew closer, and our
Right. But it was
relation
very
grew.
interesting to see like what I got from
Yeah,
it and then what you got from it. And it was like, oh,
right,
wow.
right.
Okay.
But it had impact. It was more than
Right.
just interesting. Like it
Right.
had
It was
impact,
impactful. Yeah.
and that's our why. That's why we started, right? So if this endeavor we're working on gets frustrating or overwhelming or hard, we go back to our why, right?
Mm.
Well, why did we start it? And that's what's going to steer us through the stormy seas. That's what's going to help us when the skies seem dark, when things are difficult, right? And so if you're allowing unnecessary fear to prevent you from living a full, authentic life, from really being who you are, what I would say is, what's your why, right?
Mm.
Why do you want to live that way? Why do you want to pursue that career? Why, are you attached to this identity? Like, what's your why? What do you want to achieve? What's motivating and driving you? And if that remains your focus, then the story in your head about who might disapprove or who might judge you or who won't like it suddenly loses some of its power.
Mm.
In all likelihood, your why is stronger than somebody else's judgment.
Right.
That's what I got
I
from it.
love that. No,
Yeah.
that's really good. I love the way that we get different. And the truth about it is, what I said could resonate with
Yeah.
certain part, of the collective, and then what you said.
Yep.
And then of course, it could just make somebody really sit and really wonder,
Yeah.
like, which is it, and
Yeah.
to dig deep and find that why. So, yeah. So if you guys would like to comment, let us know if this reading resonated with you, what part of it resonated with you, um, what you think of these readings that we do together, and our different views on them. Just comment, let us know.
Yep.
If you have questions, you can ask questions. We will answer them to the best of our ability.
Yep. And what I will say is thank you so much for watching. Your
Mm,
time is your most valuable commodity, and we really appreciate the time you spend with us. It means so much to us. And like Foxglove said, by all means, comment, but for sure, please like and share the content. If you find value in it, please share it. Also, if you subscribe to the YouTube page, you will be alerted when we have new videos up. We will do a reading like this every week. Every Sunday night we do a reading. We typically post on Monday, but um, but the idea is we're going to have more content other than just this. So please subscribe and share, and please do comment because we will respond to the comments. We
right.
will talk back and answer your questions. Last but not least, if you would like a reading like this for yourself, if you would like a reading with the witch and the psychologist as psycho-spiritual reading, or a humanistic dream interpretation, which is a service I offer, or a traditional tarot reading, what Foxglove offers, as well as Reiki sessions, even distance Reiki.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Please, you can comment. You can email us at thebikerandthewitch@gmail.com, thebikerandthewitch@gmail.com, or go to our Etsy shop. Just go to Etsy and search The Biker and the Witch, and you will find us.
Mm-hmm.
But we really value you and appreciate you being here with us. And until next time, from our beautiful living room and our mantle, there's our altar again.
Yep.
There's our Puggle Bella right
Oh, in her
there.
spot.
Yeah. And we've got our table there. Alistair Crowley, you can't see him, but you could probably hear him chewing on his toy on the other side there. Until next time, I'm Dr. Sunshine, the biker psychologist, saying keep growing until you're thriving.
And I am Foxglove the Witch. Cheers, baby.